Oh, okay.
King or queen. I don't really know. Did you change the title?
Yes, I did.
Cool.
Cool. All right, we're live. We're
Bro, I think
recording.
Hyperlight's one word, you fucking idiot.
No, it's not.
Is it not?
Nah.
Shit, I'm the idiot.
All right, we are good to go. We're probably gonna have someone in the stream here real quick, and we're recording.
Alright, let me repost the link.
All right. Well, it should be the same link. You could just delete your messages now. Oh, we got 2 concurrent viewers in the YouTube channel. How's it going, guys?
At
Matt
least
and I,
one is me.
At least one is Matt. Okay, one might be Bubble. We're going to go ahead and get started here. In a second, we're going to be talking about Hyperlight Drifter this evening. Super stoked for this one. This is going to be really, really exciting, actually.
Yeah.
Matt, are you ready to go?
One sec. Just get my notes up. All right.
All
Feeling
right.
good?
I'm feeling pretty good.
You ready?
Yep, let's go ahead and go.
All right.
Oh,
Hey,
we gotta clap. We gotta clap.
We gotta clap. Everyone, you gotta clap.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Nice.
That's good
Sick.
enough.
All right.
All right, hang on. We got a media board now. Remember?
Oh. I don't think Doogie's gonna like this.
Powered
Yeah,
by
he is not
Riverside.
Yo, your cam's frozen. I think Bubble's saying that.
Okay. Okay.
Emery,
my
Bubble,
camera-
can you hear them? Can you hear Lucas at least?
My camera's not frozen on Riverside, the actual recording platform that we're using to stream to YouTube, but it does look like I'm frozen in the actual YouTube. Can you see that on your side, Matt?
Yeah, you're hella frozen.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang. I'm not sure why.
Well, hold on. Can you sound? Well, the sound's okay at least, so that's fine.
Okay.
As long
You know
as
what
it
we'll
is
do
sound.
you know what we'll do as an alternative too for the Discord? We can invite people to sit in as audience as well, so we can do that.
Yeah, if you want.
So here, let me go ahead and open up the Discord and send everybody our audience link. Sec here.
Yeah, dude. Every time we start recording, your camera quality just like, I think all your bandwidth just gets eaten up because your camera quality just hella goes down. But I mean, it sounds fine, so that's most important, I'd say.
Okay, cool. So Bubble, if you're having any trouble getting in and seeing me on the YouTube channel, you should be able to go into that link right there and inside the Discord and enter into our recording studio. So we should be good there. All right, Matt, let's go ahead and clap in again.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
All right.
Cool.
Feeling good?
Feeling good. Go for it.
Cool. Hey, everyone, it's Matt.
And this is Lucas,
And this is Thanks for Playing.
the podcast where we break down the most iconic video games the world has to offer. Okay. You gotta really back up when you do that. It's
Bro, I
it's
did.
really loud.
That's why we got an editor. That's
Well,
why we got
the
Doogie.
live now that we're doing the live recordings, people, it's just loud. It's just loud for people.
I know.
We can't
I know.
edit that.
But I mean they'll learn. They'll learn.
They'll learn to lower the volume.
At this point, I can't change who I am. This is
all
it.
good.
This is
And,
the peak performance.
And speaking of our live recording, I just want to plug that for the people listening right now. If you're listening to this episode right now, you're probably listening to it a few days after we've actually recorded. You could be listening to it in the moment that we're recording it with our live stream. We are streaming this live directly to YouTube, and we're posting
poppin'.
the link. It's popping. We
Oh,
actually
yeah.
have several concurrent viewers in the channel right now, which is pretty exciting. And we're also posting the link to the actual recording studio for our recording platform, which is Riverside, for people to join in, chat with us, talk with us. We got Bubble in here. Thanks for playing, fan. Also in the Discord server.
Friend of the pod.
Friend of the pod. That's the
Yeah.
term. Friend of the pod. So super exciting stuff happening there. I think this is one of our maybe third or fourth live recording. And it's been
Slowly
good.
getting the hang of it. Hey, where can they find the link to check out the Riverside directly?
So they can find the link to check us out, and we'll find all of our links really attached to our Instagram. So if you go to our Instagram account and go to thanksforplayingpod@gmail.com, that's the Instagram, right?
No. You just started saying the email. You know what you were doing.
Say-
Instagram, Twitter, TFP Podcasts. That's TFP Podcast with an S at the end. On there, you'll find our link tree,
There it
which
is.
links to all of our interwebs stuff, including our Discord. And we have a fun Discord now. We're starting to get see some lively action in there every once in
Yeah.
a while. Shout out to Johnny Panic, always being the one to start the discourse there. It's a good time. It's a good time, and excited for the future of what that can bring. And yeah, and if you have any questions for the pod, maybe suggestions, maybe you want to tell us how to run our Discord, I don't know. Shoot us an email. Thanks for listening pod@gmail.com. And as always, leave a review. Maybe tell me, I don't know what kind of cake I would be in a Apple
Ooh.
Podcast review. What kind of sweet I would be, and perhaps tell
Pound
Lucas.
cake.
Oh, thank you.
That's an easy one.
And perhaps tell us what kind of tea Lucas would be. I'm always fascinated to
Earl
find
Grey.
that out. Earl Grey, no doubt, no cap.
That's it, yeah.
Lucas, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm excited for the recording for this one today. This is kind of I played this game years ago, I think when it first came out, back in 2016. It kind of caught my eye on Steam. Totally within my aesthetic wheelhouse, I'd say. So obviously it was a great 3 weeks playing this game as we led up to this recording. It was my second playthrough, and definitely had a good time kind of chilling back. I gave myself plenty of time. I actually explored quite a bit more on this playthrough, and it was just a lot of fun. It's been great, the days are getting longer. Now I'm not playing games for too long at night. I'm able to play video games in the evening.
There you go.
In
Yeah.
the winter, you're just basically playing games at 5 or 6 starting nighttime. It's not very cool.
It's nice too because we can kind of at least here in California. I can't speak for how daylight's working in the rest of the country or the world, but it's nice. We get can enjoy the day a little bit longer here now. Especially with
Yeah.
the world opening up. I mean, we had our first big group hangout in forever this week in Lucas. Us and a bunch of our homies got brunch, huge
That was great. Yeah, that was
mimosas.
awesome.
Are you kidding me?
Man,
It was
yeah,
dangerous. It was high octane.
That was pretty good.
And
We
a
played some
post.
volleyball.
Yeah, played some volleyball, played some spike ball in a post-mask world, mind you, as far as California goes, for the most part.
Yeah, pretty insane.
Very weird. I went to Vaughn's, no masks.
No mask in Vons.
That was weird. Went to the gym today. Wow, crazy,
Yeah,
crazy.
there's no
But
masks in a lot of my neighborhood as well.
yeah, it's weird feeling. Kind of feel uncomfortable almost, but I think we have to move back towards it eventually. Either way, though,
Yeah.
today, Lucas already kind of gave a little bit of a sneak peek today, and I'm really excited to talk about today's game. That's right, everyone. Today, we were talking about the #1 16-bit action lightsaber simulator, Hyper Light Drifter.
That's
Da-da.
right. That is right. We are talking about the 2016 16-bit style indie game developed by Heart Machine and directed by Alex Preston, based out of Santa Monica. 9.5 out of 10 from Game Informer, 9 out of 10 on GameSpot, overall 88 out of 100 on Metacritic, and a 7.6 from IGN. Yet another miss. From,
Another miss from IGN.
From IGN.com.
Where
unfortunately.
anytime it's not COD, they just give it a shitty score.
I know. Okay,
I'm kind of a little disappointed in IGN. If
okay.
you want to pick up the podcast, by all means, pick us up, and we'll give your games better ratings. But come on, IGN. You gave Before Your Eyes a 7 or something, right? And they gave this game in the 7 as well. Then they give fucking Black Ops 3 a goddamn 9.5 or something, 9.3.
Every single unoriginal, uninspired, safe game gets a 9 or above. And then anything that's trying to take a risk or do something really unique is not getting great ratings. I actually we're in the gaming crit space, right? So we're developing a voice for ourselves in this community, and hopefully some of you find our opinions on video games pretty valuable. But as a quick aside with like the IGN thing, I really love the personalities at IGN. I
Yeah,
really value
absolutely.
I value video game talk. I like the news. I like the IGN podcast hosts that I listen to and really respect tend to skew a little bit older, so they're from a little bit of the gaming generation that I'm from. So they know a lot about games. It's really interesting to hear them talk. But like, I'm listening to a episode of an IGN podcast, and there's an ad for Final Fantasy VII. Okay, if you're doing journalism, right, and you're doing serious crit, it's very strange to have a straight up ad for another game. Like, what kind of moral quandary does that create? I don't. I find it a little bit problematic.
I mean, they're a
Just wanna throw it
business
out
trying
there.
to make money.
I know, but like, uh, come. Okay, when you have a journalistic like entity, you have a magazine or you have like a newspaper. You try, or at least the idea is that you don't accept ad money or donations from entities that can influence the type of
Okay,
journalism that
yeah,
you do.
that's fair.
So if again, this is a super quick aside. We're supposed to be talking about Hyperlight Drifter, but if you are doing video game journalism or video game critique, and you also have to do an ad for that video game, what does that say about the honesty that you can give to that game? I find it to be a little bit problematic. That's all I'm saying. Okay.
This might be
Be-
a great thing to continue to explore in Anything's Possible.
that's a great anything's possible
Yeah.
topic. Sort of I feel like video game journalism is kind of becoming like, it's sort of getting a pass on that kind of stuff in a certain way. I think that IGN, I mean, IGN gets a lot of shit. Let's be honest. They do really get a lot of crap from a lot of people. A lot of independent reviewers on, like, say, YouTube that are kind of just one person. They actually are generally pretty critical of the bigger guys like that because of that advertising and
Yeah.
money making cycle that they have to go through. So I know I think they're becoming less and less of a prominent voice in the game crit space. But I just want to point out, watchdog them a little bit, let them know that we're here. We are here.
We are here. Thanks for playing us here. And if you want to buy us out, we can still talk.
Yeah. Yeah, buy us out. Man.
Lucas, I would like because today's game it's pretty abstract, right? It's not very straightforward as far as the story, what your overarching objective is. Even it's kind of just a game you experience, it's something that you play and piece together as best as you can while you're going through it. So before we really dive into anything else about the game, the gameplay, even like the developer, I would like you to give us a brief little synopsis, little explanation of what exactly is Hyperlight Drifter.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm doing the synopsis this week instead of Matt because honestly, this was kind of a hard one.
I text
I'm staying
Lucas. I didn't really know what to put.
Yeah, I'm staying high level on this one, everybody. So, Hyperlight Drifter. You play in this game as the Drifter, a silent sword-wielding protagonist seeking ancient relics in a futuristic post-apocalyptic world. The post-apocalyptic world in Hyperlight Drifter is a little different from your typical one. It's sort of like a lot of civilization was wiped out from titans that emerged. Okay, so much of the story has to be explained through like extra kind of things that you find
Yeah,
online.
yeah.
So basically, I'll just go back to reading what I wrote here. Actually, the game has 4 main areas which you traverse to unlock modules, collect currency, fight mobs, bosses, and explore big set pieces which explain a lot of the backstory of the world. The story of the game is conveyed to you entirely through one, prophetic visions that the Drifter has of the destruction of the world by these giant robotic titans, and 2, the visions of his own demise at the hand of a ghost-like being. The game is also told to you, obviously, through the world itself. While you're exploring the world, you'll find things like underground secret laboratories, places where they experimented and created robots, possibly, labs underneath like lakes. You'll find different types of tribes existing in different areas of the map that all have sort of their own little niches and I'd say things in mind when it comes to how they survive in that world. As you progress through the game, you buy upgrades, get armor, get stronger, learn about the world, and eventually fight the final boss at the very center of the map underneath the town where you get all your upgrades and meet some of the nice NPCs. After the final boss is defeated, the Drifter takes refuge as the world is kind of renewed in a fire. Like there's a big destructive sequence, and the world is renewed. The void energy releases, and you shine anew in the Drifter's. The world shines anew as the Drifter's heart bleeds out, and then fade away. That is sort of the game as I understood it. I know I talked mostly about the pure gameplay loop of it because the story is very, very nonverbal.
Yeah, it's a light way to put it. Yeah, it's all over the place.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a style I think that games have started to do. I think in the realm of more traditional art mediums like we always talk about movies, TV, books, and stuff like that. I think that plot and story is actually the key central component to some of those art mediums. When it's come to video games, I think a lot of developers have realized that the core thing about your game is going to be the gameplay loop and the actual interactions and inputs and outputs for the system, right? And the story actually is secondary. So a lot of these developers, say like Dark Souls, Hollow Knight, Hyper Light Drifter, they're starting to gear towards more of a set piece that explains the world telling you the story while as you go through it, rather than just like a main central story that you follow, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like not hand fed to you, like spoon fed linearly in a linear sense, but like it gives you a very basic overview, and then it says have fun, dive in, right?
Exactly.
It's not like you're reading a book page for page. It's like I don't know, like I'm not sure your analogy, but just like skipping through random YouTube videos, just like piecing things together, right? It's like not told in a straightforward fashion. It's kind of like life.
Things got real deep real quick. What were some of your initial thoughts on it, Matt?
Bro, this game is hard. So a little fun fact. This game was actually supposed to be, or this episode rather, was supposed to come out the week that we released Dear Esther. So I believe that would have been a month ago, 2 episodes ago, if I'm remembering correctly, 2 full game episodes ago. The reason being is I was a little, it wasn't like super cruncher time. Like I had 3 or 4 days to like work on this game and beat it. But I was going through the first area of the game and just kind of dying and struggling a lot. And I text Lucas. I'm like, bro, I gotta go. I don't know if I could honestly beat this game in time, given our other adult responsibilities that I have to take care of. I'm like, I don't think this is happening, King. It is a very, very difficult game and a very hard game to understand as well. I remember even just when like I first picked it up for my initial time on my Switch, I like restarted the game 2 or 3 times in a row just because I wanted to rewatch the opening cinematic and like just like try and get as much as I could from it, because I watched it the first time and I was like, wait, huh?
Yeah.
And then I watched it
like, what's happening in this?
Yeah, and then I watched it a second time and I was still just like, huh? And then I watched it the third time. I'm like, well, I think I've gotten all I'm going to get from it at this point.
Yeah.
Because the whole game is so cryptic and just like really kind of sets up the mystery. And that said, though, like as Lucas and I have mentioned already, the game's not told in a very like linear sense, right? It's kind of left for you to piece together and explore this world and discover the lore of it. And in a very interesting way too, because it's not like, say, Outer Worlds or a Fallout game or Skyrim or Cyberpunk, where you'll find little bits and pieces of lore written in the game, or like you'll hear a radio, or you'll find like a journal or something that explains a little piece of the world. Whereas in this game, there's no written
there's no writing.
There's no spoken dialogue. Everything is just conveyed through sounds and music. And imagery. And imagery, yeah. So it's very much just you left to piece everything together and kind of just figure out what's going on in this very bizarre but fascinating, like it makes you want to dive into it and play it. But just this very bizarre world. And really just incredible by Alex Preston, the game director. I don't know if we want to get into this now or later, but I mean, for context, everyone, I mean, as we mentioned, the your head guy or your main guy, the character you play as, not deserter, the
The
drifter,
drifter, yeah.
um, is very clearly suffering from some sort of heart disease, and um, as you know, any self-preserving creature would, they're like searching for a cure. And Alex Preston, the game director and creator, and conceptualized Hyper Light Drifter, has a congenital heart disease themselves, and this is kind of their way of taking inspiration from their life and then balling it up and putting it into this really unique and really special art form that is this video game
Totally.
Hyper Light Drifter. And it's such a unique thing, and um, I think we always see really interesting inspirations in games. Like, I think, like Outer Wilds is a perfect example of what a phenomenal game that became. But I think very rare is it to find a game that has such, literally and metaphorically, such, like a hit close to heart inspiration,
Yeah, yeah,
um,
it's true.
where, his the heart disease that he suffered with his whole life is influencing this game. And that's just remarkable. And then integrated into it is incredible, the way he
Yeah.
integrates it. And it's incredible for an interactive piece of art like this to exist.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's the artistic achievement of, like Matt said, the creator Alex Preston. Alex takes dozens of pills a day for his heart disease and goes to the doctor like all the time, basically. He's nearly died several times. He kind of he understands that his life is sort of teetering on the edge on a regular basis. There's actually a really great Vice documentary out there. You could watch it on YouTube. It's about a 10-minute watch on the team wrapping up Hyper Light Drifter and publishing it. And it's also a little bit of a profile on Alex Preston himself. Covers his health struggles, even interviews his doctor, which is very interesting. All of Alex's thoughts about death really translate super well, I think, into this game because one, there is quite a bit of dying and restarting in the game because it is a hard game, but also the visions of death that are constantly affecting the drifter, and the drifter constantly coughing up blood throughout the game, for instance. And it's kind of one of those things where you play the game and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool, or this is interesting that the drifter's suffering from something, or like he's coughing up blood. And then when you learn the inspiration came from the actual director himself going through all this stuff, you go, oh, okay, I that's pretty cool, or not cool, but that's interesting that that's where it's coming from. There's very clear inspiration coming. um, but outside of knowing that and understanding that about the game is super awesome. I love the style, the tone, the color is amazing. The overall game feel in regards to like control and response, the game just feels good to play.
Yeah.
A game feeling good to play is is more rare than we think. Like it's more rare than we actually really think when you think about a game like movement, dashing, jumping, hitting, like dodging. Most of that
Yeah.
stuff in video games is actually hard to do.
Like imagine a game like any third person action adventure game. Like I think a great example of this would be like any of the Assassin's Creeds you may have played growing up. Like those are, I want to be clear, I enjoy those games very much, at least the older ones for me personally. And I think they're really fun games, but you can just tell like it doesn't feel as smooth, it doesn't feel as responsive, when you go to jump up something or you even just move to dash in one way. There's like that little bit, I don't know whether it's by design or not, like a little bit of a latency delay type thing where
Yeah,
it just doesn't feel good, the movement per se.
yeah.
Whereas in a
Even
game like
Cyberpunk.
this, like Cyberpunk, I don't know.
The
I'm
movement
thinking
in
much more.
Cyberpunk is awful. The movement in most third-person games is
Yeah,
awful. Like, movement is not typically something that people are prioritizing in games these days.
yeah, and to be able to make it feel smooth is really important, I think. Kind of a funny thing, just because of like the way the camera is in the game, like the top down nature and kind of like the basic controls of like you have a gun you shoot, which and then you have a dash and you have a sword. I was really at first trying to play it like Hades,
Yeah,
and I think that's why like my first 2 hours of the game was just like terrible. So I was just getting
totally.
so fucked up. Like you have to kind of play it slower, right? You can't just like in Hades just kind of run and run and gun, just
Run
like
and gun,
dash
yeah.
in. You have like these crazy power ups that protect you. Whereas if you try and do that in Hyperlight, you're gonna get fucked up very
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah, and I like that about it. I actually have here, the last game we played like this is Hades. It's probably the closest game to this genre. Um, you're not on the same level. Like in Hades, you're actually a little overpowered. It's an attrition thing in Hades where you're just trying to survive and keep going as long as you can. In Hyperlight, every hard room is a little bit of a puzzle where you're like, okay, I gotta shoot that guy, I gotta kill this guy, then I gotta dash over here. And over time, you eventually develop like a more patient play style with the game, which
Yeah.
I think is really interesting. You start becoming a little more methodical. It's really cool. I mean,
And what's great too is
it's a different style.
there's no room that you enter or no like boss battle or any part of the game. No matter what stage you are, it's at least a little bit challenging every time, right?
Hmm.
It's not like there's no like freebies in this game. It's which
Yeah,
leads to a very rewarding and satisfying gameplay loop, right? Like
exactly.
when I beat my first boss, I was like, fuck yeah. Like I
Yeah,
was so
yeah.
gassed, right? Yeah.
Even like with upgrades that come through and being able to play some areas out of order, you still find challenge in the other areas. So there's no like going to this easy area first. Like the easy area is still hard.
Yeah.
And even like when you get upgrades, the easy area can still kill you pretty easily because you have to still use a lot of skill to develop the skill to even use those upgrades.
Yeah.
Sometimes the upgrade is like one of the upgrades, for instance, is like a chain dash that you can get. It's one of the better upgrades in the game, but the chain dash still has to be timed out as you use it. You don't just get like you don't get to
It's just
spam your
infinite.
dash
And that's
button.
what I thought
Yeah,
first. I was like, oh, I
yeah,
have to like methodically, not methodically, but like time this, right? It's
yeah.
like a like a melee side B short or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I think that's interesting because in Hades, when you get like multi dash, you can just dash everywhere and you kind of are immune and it's cool. In this game, you actually have to earn your chain dashes by timing it correctly. I think that's so interesting. Everything takes just a little bit of work, a little bit of challenge when you're fighting, which I think is really awesome. I think the art style is really great. You have that homage to the 16-bit style. I think it's done very well. I'm going to go into that a little bit when we touch on art style. And I love the decision to have no dialogue or writing in the game. So, like Matt said earlier, nothing in the game. There's no diegetic writing or content or dialogue in the game. Meaning there is text in the game, but it's text that tells you like how to do something. The text is like push A to dash. The text might say like push X to swing your sword. So it's very, very
Bare
basic.
minimum to
Yeah,
explain this is how you play my game. Yeah.
exactly. But the game story itself is not told in any sort of way to you.
No.
It's conveyed to you through sound, through music, through mood, and through
I mean,
imagery.
even like the like going into a store, right? Like you have to kind of figure out. There's nothing that tells you this is the in-game currency, right?
Yeah,
You kind of just discover after looking in a store and seeing like, okay, like you want this little yellow pixel thing, okay, and then you're running out and you're exploring these ruins and like, oh, I found the yellow pixels. I guess I can buy something now.
yeah,
Then you find out you need
exactly.
hella yellow pixels and it's a mess. But
I know. And I mean the upgrades are fun, right? The like when you grab when you get those yellow pixels and then you get the currency, you upgrade and it's always like a satisfying upgrade. And I think it keeps the game moving, keeps everything interesting. And in total, the game is about a 9 to 10 hour journey. I think it's a perfect size for playing. Like you could play it over a weekend, and it's a really great weekend play
yeah,
for sure. I
exactly.
played over the course of about a week and a half, and I probably sat down like 4 or 5 times and played it very slowly. And I enjoyed so much of it this playthrough. I played it on Xbox for those of you that are wondering. I think it's about $20 on Xbox right now, but
Yeah.
Switch is probably the more supreme version to play it on. I'm willing to bet.
I really enjoyed it. It's just a perfect game to just kick back on your couch and chill and play. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did it? Was there any part it wasn't clicking for you, or did it? Was it pretty much from the get go for you? Because you had
I
played this
played
in
it before.
2016. So was this experience different for you in that regard? Or
Yeah,
when you played it in 2016, did it have like more of a slower period to really get into it?
yeah. I'd say that it clicked for me pretty much instantly. I think it's because of the what it's kind of going for here, where it's that 16-bit style. Actually, the biggest influences of this game, Alex Preston says, are Link to the Past and Diablo. Big Super Nintendo fan myself, and big Link to the Past fan. I think I got it right away, and I think it's funny. I would say it's more in line with like Secret of Mana, Secret of Evermore. For those of you that have played those SNES games, it's that top-down feel. but taken to like, what would that game feel like? How would you play that game in 2016? And I think it nails it pretty well. So I didn't really have any trouble getting it to click for me. What about you? Did you have a rough time getting to click with it?
Yeah, yeah.
What
Yeah, no, I
about it?
mean, like I mentioned already, I mean, I wanted to play the game like Hades or like, I mean, that's just, I mean, honestly, like, as far as like my gaming taste, I'm really simple to please that, like, just give me some fast, fun gameplay and I'm gonna have a great time. So this was, I had to really adjust my style and expectations with the rest of the game as well to really enjoy it. But, it's interesting. I was telling Lucas that I really didn't think I was gonna like this game that much, especially after my first like couple hours in it. But as I kept playing it and as I kept going through it and kind of learning, okay, this is a game where you need to be more patient and can't be gung ho and just going for it. And once I started to kind of accept that and then tamper my play style and engage in the world and really like appreciate what was going on in the art surrounding me and the set pieces and things, it became like a totally different experience, right? And moreover than that, too, just like gameplay aside, I mean, I think so far in this podcast, I think for the most part, the games I've really liked have been relatively newer games, and the games I haven't liked as much have been older games. Point in case, Metroid Jet Set Radio. Um, and while
Ah,
this game was made in, to be clear, in 2016, it's definitely a game that could have been made from a technical standpoint. I'm talking, probably could have been made in early 2000s, no problem, or maybe even
mhm.
earlier, right? So I was very surprised to find myself in really enjoying that style of game that much. So it was a pleasant
That's
surprise.
that's great. That's great. Yeah. I, God, man, you gave me the Super Metroid flashbacks. Um, yeah, it's interesting because I think this is a good blend for you in particular, Matt, where it's totally like it's a new, it's what an old game. It's not an old game, right? But it is like what an old game can really be inspired off of.
Yeah,
Which yeah, like it's definitely like it's probably that perfect like middle ground where for me it's like, oh hell yeah, this is like a Super Nintendo game, and you're like, hell yeah, this is like a Super Nintendo game, but it's not.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. It
So
hits
I think
things
it
just
totally
right.
hit. I think it hit things just right, for both of us here. So, I mean, I will say that for me, even on this playthrough, about it clicking, it did take me a little bit to adjust to that playstyle. I was really used to Hades and the ability to just kind of run and gun. And about a quarter of the way through, probably nearing the end of the first area, was when I was like, okay, I think I got it again.
Yeah.
I think I can ride the bike again, for sure. On game design specifically, um, how are we feeling about the gameplay loop?
Extremely satisfying. Yeah. Once you get through those first couple hours, if you're like me, where you're just like struggling and not playing it incorrectly, but not playing it in the most optimal play style. Once you get into the flow of things and like the shoot your gun a couple times, dash, swing your sword a couple times, dash away, wait for their attack, dash back in, hit. It's a very you feel smart,
Yeah.
and the the satisfaction of recognizing the patterns in these enemies and then adapting to it, um, and it just feels good when you get a kill, right? And
Totally.
that's true for both like on the smaller level scale, with just like the not bosses, but I guess just minions for lack of a better term, the normal NPCs you'll face, and then same thing for the bosses as well. Like I mean, I don't know how much trouble you had, Lucas, but most of them, for me, the bosses took a few tries, at least 3 or 4, maybe even 5 in some cases. And that was just me every time I was learning a little bit more, getting a little bit closer, getting that pattern recognition, systems learning. Shout outs to what's his face,
Systems literacy, Jonathan
literacy, yeah.
Blow.
Um, and that gameplay loop is just incredibly satisfying. And um, we don't. I feel like a lot of games lately don't really hit that as well. At least a lot of like I shouldn't say a lot of games lately, but like probably some of the bigger AAA titles that we might think of, say something like a Call of Duty game or like a to give a single player example, like Outer Wilds, um, not Outer Wilds, Outer Worlds, excuse me. Any like Fallout game, a lot of them don't really like have as much of that pattern recognition, right? Or
Hmm.
So it's very satisfying to have a game like that where it really rewards you paying attention to the little things like that and not just blindly running in and praying for the
That
best.
that's that old school game design style. That's really
Yeah,
fun.
yeah,
Where everybody has a very predictable attack, and the only thing that changes is the fact that there's now five guys with the same predictable attack. So how do you fight those, right? So it's there's no surprises. Keeps you honest. Um, so it's really great in that regard. I have here, I love basically everything you said. I totally on board with. I also love the idea of exploration in the game. There's actually quite a bit of it. There's tons of secret rooms. I'm not
yeah,
sure how much you got, but there's secret rooms. There's locked doors. There's tons of keys. There's ancient stone tablets you can activate and unlock more of the story. Um, and I don't know. I love the idea of getting rewarded for exploring. I think we've talked about that on this pod quite a bit. Something like Breath of the Wild, Super Metroid. Basically, every Metroidvania follows that sort of philosophy where you just keep kind of looking around into nooks and crannies, and you can kind of find something, an upgrade or another boss or
yeah.
the path or a shortcut or something. And I really do like that gameplay design style. Uh, the other thing I have here too is, I love that most of the rooms were challenging without really being unfair. Again, like every enemy projects their attacks. They all attack the same way once you see what their attack style is. So it's just a matter of kind of keeping track of like
Who does
sometimes
what? Yeah.
yeah, and some rooms like 30 enemies on screen at the
Some
same
of them are
time.
fucking
It's
hard, right?
yeah,
It's
some you're
yeah,
like, okay, I got. Did you get the bomb upgrade? Did you ever get the kick bomb thing?
like the grenade.
Yeah, the grenade.
Towards the very end, I got it. Yeah.
Okay, the grenade that carried me through a lot of hard rooms for sure. Because I would like start by throwing the grenade, and then you'd have to kind of wait for it to like the cooldown to come back, and there was just like a lot of things that you had to take advantage of sometimes in order to get through a room, which I found very fun. And the thing, this is I was just talking about this with Orion, my brother-in-law Tim. We were just talking about this yesterday, Father's Day. The thing about games I like, the thing that I really like in games is something that Hyper Light Drifter does really well. Um, there's no save points, and when you die, you restart at the room that you died in. You just get another shot at that room.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I like that philosophy. I think that games used to do this thing where you'd get to a save point, and it was actually well before the boss that the save point would be there. Some early RPG dungeons, you'd save in the overworld, go into the dungeon, have to go all the way through the dungeon, then fight a boss. And we don't like that. We just don't like
It's
that.
pretty
I think
shitty.
I think some games are they do that. They put the save point far away from the boss in order to make it very satisfying, or make the death feel even worse. And I get that, but we're Hyper Light Drifter isn't here to make you feel like dying feels so bad all the time. It's just being more
Like in
fair
Kingdom
in
Hearts.
regard. Yeah, like okay, so a version of that, right? In Kingdom Hearts, in the original Kingdom Hearts, not the version that I played, but in the original Kingdom Hearts, there was unskippable cutscenes.
Yeah, in
So
vanilla.
if so if you wanted to fight, oh my God, what's
Sephiroth.
your idiot friend's name?
Oh,
No,
Riku.
Riku. The Riku fight took me like 30 tries, right? Like not even capping. It took me 30 tries. So if I had to watch a cutscene every single fight, I probably would have thrown my controller out of the window every single death. But instead, it was just like I die and I'm like, okay, let's go again. Okay, let's go again. Let's go
Yeah,
again.
I
And
I had a ROM of that game, so I had to.
that's the
Yeah.
equivalent. That's the equivalent of like this version in like an unintended way,
Yeah.
which I think is super interesting. And there's a generous amount of teleportation and fast travel in Hyperlight, which is really great. You kind of can get everywhere they need to go pretty quickly. The challenge is not in the minutia of having to get from point A to point B or have to fight your way perfectly through an area, then fight a boss. The challenge in Hyperlight Drifter is distilled down to beat this room. The room's hard enough already. Just beat it.
Yeah.
The boss, fight the boss. The boss is hard enough already, right? I like that.
There's no bullshit or tricks. It's honest. It's an honest game.
Yeah, totally.
I think that's
Totally.
a good way to describe it. Yeah. How did you feel about the art style?
Love the art. Again, I okay. Besides the 16-bit stuff, I think it makes some decisions that are really, really good. It's kind of minimalist in a way, right? Like the menu screens are very like it's just lines and grids and stuff like that. And even the map itself is drawn in a way that gives you enough information, but not too much. You know, like it'll tell you
Yeah.
what room you're in, but it won't tell you like where the hidden wall is in that room.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting because sometimes in games you can kind of cheat your way to the hidden room or the path you have to go down by like scrutinizing the map so much. But in Hyperlight, I didn't find myself looking at the map too much because it simply told me I was in this room and the room was like just a rectangle, and then the next room was like another rectangle.
Yeah.
You know, so I thought that was pretty cool. I think it uses color very, very well to distinguish between what's there, what's an enemy, what's moving at you, what's going to attack you. It's just very vibrant in that regard. And, you know, like even the town that you're in is like, it's the only color in that game with like that greenish, nice,
That feels
lush.
safe.
It feels safe, right?
Yeah.
And then like some of the, like the hidden underground level to the south, the last area that you're in is like very purple and very like saturated and kind of scary. The music, basically, the music helps sell all of this.
Yeah.
But I think that the decisions of all the colors that are used in each area are one unique to that area to distinguish it, but also make sense and have a very direct mood altering effect on that particular area when you're in that area.
Yeah, each area is so unique and has its own different flair and kind of brings out different emotions based off kind of what you discover while you're there, what secret rooms you uncover, what you know, when you meet whatever remnant, whether it was like the I think one has like the not frogs, but every ruin area has
It
like
had
a very
ninja
clear and
frogs.
different population that was like attacked and destroyed by whatever the boss and their minions are, and it all just blends together so well. And I'm glad you bring up the map. I actually didn't love the map at first. I think this just comes from me being more of a not even a newer game, but like I didn't really play any of like the super like for context, my first video games were like Jack and Daxter on the PS2, right? Or like Pokemon Crystal. So like I'm used to having very straightforward maps, I guess. Like a fucking
Yeah.
Metroid, I hated that shit. Super Metroid.
Yeah, yeah.
Or is that what we played? Yeah, Super Metroid. So I was a little janked out by the map at first, but
Janked out. That's a really great word for it.
but
I can see
you get
that.
the hang of it.
I totally see that. I mean, the map is like a little jarring when you first play it, where you're like, "What the? Where am
There's just no like clear
I?"
pathways. It's just like you need north is the like very general direction you need to go, or like south relatively.
Yeah,
Which I mean I think it just depends on what you're into, what you're not. It grew on me kind of because I just kind of got the hang of it and got into the mode of exploration. But there were definitely some parts where I'd like quickly YouTube something like where the fuck's this last module I need, you know?
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I get that.
because
It
the
is
one
tough.
things that bug me in games where I think, and you'll disagree with me here, Super Metroid is really guilty of this in my opinion too, but like where there's a secret room, but based off the way you've been playing that game and your knowledge, you have no reason to believe there should or would be a secret room. I had a couple experience. Well, had that like once in this game where I got caught off guard by that. And I was just like, oh, of course I fucking missed it. I have to backtrack all this way. Those
Yeah.
little things kind of irk me. And I don't really think I have a good answer of like how you present that better. To be honest, I just think I personally, as a gamer, don't like it because I mean,
Mhm.
if you present that there might be a secret room, then it's like, oh, there might be a secret room. Oh, right? Kind of
Yeah,
like
there's a hard line.
it,
There's a tough line to ride there.
I'm not sure there's like a good middle ground for it. Honestly, I think it's just you either like that or you don't. I personally don't like it that much. I think you probably do. Um, but I mean, overall, the art was great. And something I found really compelling too. I don't know if this is the right even category to put it under, but um, when you would kill your enemies and before like they would reset and respawn, which I think you could go like a few rooms and then backtrack before like enemies would respawn in said room. Um, the dead bodies would stay after you
That's
fought
cool.
enemies. I found
I
that
didn't
very
notice that.
yeah, I found that very interesting and just very compelling for I don't really know how else to describe it. It was just it was really emphasizing like this world kind of sucks for everyone actually, right? Like obviously these are the transgressors and these are like the bad guys, but like death is everywhere. There's like no escaping. It was kind of the vibe I got. And another little thing I noticed too was um the I don't know what they're called. They're like the one minion that showed up in every zone, I think, like these little blue guys. I think they were in almost every zone. That like not shot, but just kind of like ran at you like little gremlins.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, they usually came at you in mobs, and if you killed all but one of them, then like the last one, you could just see it. I don't know if it was supposed to be sweat or tears, but you could see like water start flying off of it, and it would just start like running around. And if you just left it be, it like wouldn't fuck with you anymore. Like it would just do its own thing and just like go off, right?
You
Um,
killed his whole tribe.
yeah, and I just found that like kind of like a dark humor. Like I just imagine like all these little like fuckers just running at me, like get 'em, boys, and then and then the last one being like, oh fuck, like you know,
I
like
gotta get
oh
outta here.
god, oh, I gotta go. So I
It's pretty
gotta.
dark though.
It is pretty dark, but I got a kick out of that. Especially because like again, the game doesn't like it's not even like a moral thing. It's not like if you're playing like a game like Outer Worlds or even Cyberpunk where there's maybe certain moral decisions that affect the story, like oh do you spare this person or not. It's just like a little thing that's thrown in there that kind of like lets you choose what kind of drifter you want to be in. It doesn't have any like consequence on the game. That's okay sometimes. I think
And
not
it can go
everything has
unnoticed.
to totally impact the narrative.
Yeah, and it can go unnoticed. Like
Yeah.
it went unnoticed for me. I just killed everything.
Yeah.
Which I don't know what that says about me. Sort of some Undertale vibes there. Um, all right, moving on to sound design. Man, I think that we could both agree on the kick-assness of this sound design.
Yeah, yeah. I have so funny enough, the way I discovered about this game and the way we decided to even put it on the pod was I was listening to just like a random Spotify radio where you play a song, then it just makes a radio based off that music. Funny enough, by the infamous, notoriously good, devilishly good looking Vincent Moon. I remember this very well. I was listening to their song 1955, I think it is. And then it just went into radio mode and a couple songs played. And then,
Wait, that was radio for Vincent Moon?
yeah, it came up under Vincent Moon. I
Oh,
remember that very specifically because it was right when I started like listening to his stuff.
dang.
And the song that came up was Vignette. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Vignette
Vignette.
Panacea.
Oh, I don't know the second word, but
Yeah,
vignette. You're getting that one
Vignette.
right.
Yeah, Vignette Panacea by Disaster Piece. They're the one that composed the whole game, and it's just incredible. It's just beautiful. It's up there with like Undertale as far as like great video game music, and different from Undertale because Undertale obviously has that very like 16 or 8-bit feel, whereas
Mhm.
this doesn't necessarily have that sound. This sounds like very composed, clearly, very beautiful,
Yeah,
very melodic,
very moody.
moody, and really just sets the tone of the world very well. I remember I text Lucas after I heard the songs. I was like, "The song is really good," and I saw the cover art to the album. I'm like, "This looks like a video game." So I just looked up like Disaster Piece and the song name and stuff, and I, found my way to Hyperlight, and I'm like, "Bro, we gotta play this game for the pod." And he's like, "Bro, I already have." I'm like, "Oh,
I was like,
fuck."
I'm super
So
down
I
to
had
play.
yeah.
Yeah, and I like immediately rechecked out the music again and like kind of entered that world after you had sent me that, and I was like, oh yeah, dude, I forgot how sick the soundtrack is.
It's
Um,
phenomenal, yeah.
yeah, it's all composed by a composer goes by the name Disaster Piece, real name Richard Vreeland. Actually has a really great talk on the choices and decisions made in the composing of the music for this game at the Independent Game Design Festival. So probably put a link in that in the Discord. It's a great like 45-minute, hour-long talk on how you create mood and why you make certain decisions for your video game. So really cool there. Disaster Piece has a pretty kick-ass resume. It Follows, one of my favorite horror movies. Really solid there. So I think everybody that's seen that movie, Matt, I know you haven't seen it,
Yeah.
but the music is a huge element of that film. And I think anybody that's seen it will remember some of those songs. Under the Silver Lake, one of a more popular kind of indie small film that came out pretty recently. Crazy because I live in Silver Lake. I don't know if we've talked about that.
No, now you're gonna get hordes of fangirls showing up.
He's done work on Adventure Time and just dozens of indie games out there. I think it's literally just disasterpiece.com. Check him
Oh, he
out.
did Fez too. Fez is really popular right now.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, just a really solid resume there. I think that the game is actually pretty well known for its music, which is really cool. I think it's kind of developed a reputation for that, and it really does carry the mood of the game a lot. And I think it fits perfectly with kind of the post-apocalyptic, futuristic, dystopia type feel. Um, the music is like kind of, I would describe it as like noise post electro. It's kind of like cinematic and
Yeah.
moody and dark while being like electronic music. It's just really really sick.
Yeah. I don't know how to describe music because I asked Lucas, I'm like, is this lo-fi?
It's definitely not lo-fi. It's definitely not lo-fi music because yeah, it's definitely not. Although it's funny because Vincent Moon is lo-fi
Yeah, and
and
that's
it
why I
came up
think
on the
that's why I
radio.
thought that it got recommended in that, which was pretty odd. But
It is very interesting.
yeah.
All
What do we
right,
got next?
we got the NPC award
Oh,
next.
I love the
Yeah.
NPC word.
I don't know. Okay, I'll go first because I don't think you're gonna know mine.
Okay.
It's kind of an obscure one, but I'm gonna go with the person you play soccer with. Did you just get to the soccer field?
I
Little
didn't
part of the
even
map?
get that. I'm
Yeah.
upset I
Okay.
missed that. I love
No, no,
soccer.
it's all good. So there is a part of the map in the southern part of the town. You have to kind of go through a couple hallways to find it, but there's a soccer field. And I looked online for the name of this opponent, but he's just known as the soccer opponent. Basically, there's a soccer field mini game in the play or in the game. You play against someone, this just NPC, and if you win, you get a gear bit. So you get some currency. And I actually, when I got there, I was just like, oh, okay, I'll try this out for a second. And I was just like, I lost. And then I was like, well, hold up. I was like, I'm gonna beat this guy. And then like it was one of the more like intense parts of the game for me was trying to beat that mini game. And it was just one of those examples where like the mini game just took over your brain while like you just avoided the main story because the main game or the mini
Yeah.
game was just so like challenging and like one of the comments on the Hyperlight Drifter wiki, the top comment just says the true final boss because he's actually really hard.
Yeah,
So I'm
that's
giving
so
him
sick. And I'm looking at it right now. I didn't even know that was a thing.
yeah I'm giving the NPC award to the soccer opponent for sure.
That's dope. I love that.
What you
Mine, I had the little blue guys that ran around, and that if you killed them, they sweat and cried.
That's good. I swear
um,
I cried.
I just thought they had the most human characteristics of any of the NPCs that we encountered. Because I mean, even the NPCs that like will tell you the sad stories of how their race and population was decimated by whatever the invaders in that area are. You don't really get like any actual proper interaction with them. But those little blue guys were like the most consistent interaction I had with any of the NPCs in the game. And definitely, I mean, I can't imagine like anything more human than like you're with your friends or your tribe and you're gonna go defend your area or like continue fucking other people up, and then you get fucked up. And you're just like, oh shit. Yeah. So that was mine.
That's good. All right. Companion piece pick. This is love this category.
It's a
I
fun
got a
one.
good one. Yeah.
All right.
You want to go
Jake,
first?
I'll go first. Yeah. So mine was the 2019 film Robert Eggers.
Oh,
You know what I'm getting at?
the lighthouse.
The Lighthouse. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good companion piece pick.
Yeah,
Oh, I
so-
love that. Yeah. Oh.
So for anyone that hasn't seen The Lighthouse, it's a very it's a movie shot in a very old style, Lucas. You can tell the technical stuff if you know it.
Just
But,
like black and white.
black and
square,
white, like
non-widescreen.
older aspect ratio stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like if you see, like I remember I went and saw it in theaters and it didn't fill up the whole like screen. And I was like, what?
They fucked up.
They fucked up. I was like, hey,
Operator.
projector guy, you. And super just unique movie. Kind of feels like it exists outside of its time in a similar way that in a way this game kind of does as well, where it just feels kind of older. And very confusing movie as well. Very kind of leaves a lot open to interpretation, like a lot of this game does. It kind of while it has a much more clear linear story, obviously, than Hyperlight does, the ending is very kind of just like what leads a lot of open interpretation, and like a lot of this game does. And I don't know, excuse me. Um, And it just very confusing. Like I wasn't Hyperlight, so that was my companion piece pick. And
That's
shout
good.
out Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson because they were extremely fun to watch in that film together.
Yeah, yeah, and podcaster Sam is our podcaster. Producer Sam is happy that you made that companion piece pick. Companion piece pick. It's one of his favorite films.
Oh, that's sick. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's a cool movie. I mean, if like just in just to watch for the style that it's made in, I think it's
yeah,
worth
super unique. Loved it.
my companion piece pick, I actually mentioned it already. It's going to go ahead and be It Follows. One of the best, one of my favorite horror movies ever. Super weird, out there, very unique, sort of ghost supernatural horror movie. I don't really want to say too much to avoid spoilers. I know that basically all the listeners here have probably at least heard of it. It was pretty popular when it came out. Um, and it's the same composer. It's that music, that kind of distinct style by Disaster Piece, where for this movie, it kind of takes place in a modern setting. Obviously, not like a super futuristic thing. It's kind of like a suburban hometown, scary story, scary ghost story. But it's got that weird out of place music, which really blends well to make you feel unsettled in the movie.
Yeah,
So that's all I'll say. Check it out. Great film if you like the music by Disaster Piece.
hell yeah. Favorite moment, Lucas? Lay it on me.
Okay, so the favorite moment I have is actually optional. It's an optional moment in the game. I was gonna pick the last boss fight, but I'm gonna put that in my nitpick category. Actually, um, the part of the game that I actually really liked, one of the coolest moments was when you start the game off. You start a campfire on a cliffside, and you walk through the tutorial area, and then the drifter coughs up blood, and then you reset back to the town, and that's where the game actually starts. You could actually find that area again. So
Really?
in the northern part of the map, you can go exploring, and it's kind of like you have to kind of go to the side. You have to go down like a hidden tree branch, like a tree path. Then you have to go to the left. I actually found it out, not a guide. I just kind of found it, stumbled upon it, and you go to that area. Like you see the first campfire that the game starts in, and I'm like, is that? It- nah. And
That's
like
sick because I was actually wondering, like, oh, I wonder if you like where that was, or if you can find that again.
it's in the northern part of the map, and you go back there and you continue along the path that you got cut off from. And what's crazy is as you're going through the tutorial area a second time, all of the game prompts show up again to tell you how to play the game. And I
Really?
was like, whoa, like, is this necessary or did they forget about this? Like, the triggers. So you keep going and you find an ancient temple. And the ancient temple is where all of the stone tablets that you activate are. And when you
Oh.
fill in all of the stone tablets, you could actually find a key online to like tell you the backstory for the world. Basically, those stone tablets are telling you in their own language everything that happened within this world. I didn't get every stone tablet, but it was cool to know like where like the ancient knowledge was in game.
That's sick. I like
Yeah,
that.
and the game, I think that a lot of the game is you can find the story of it online. This game was kickstarted to like with really really great success and was self-published by Heart Machine.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of the early Kickstarters got a lot more of that story. I think it was either explained to them or they received some like a lot of supplementary material to kind of explain a lot of the backstory. I do know that that was something they mentioned in a YouTube video I saw.
Oh yeah. Mine was much more simple. Um, Beating my first boss. I was
Oh,
just so
nice.
satisfied, especially with bug, how much I struggled at first with the game. Very satisfying, and that's when I like everything clicked for me, and I really started to understand how to play the game and understand the gameplay loop, and here's how you approach it, and it's just super satisfying. That's where I really started having fun with the game.
Who was your first boss?
I did the Easter zone first, Eastern zone, so
Oh,
I
so the
had
frog.
the giant frogman. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was cool. All right, so last one. Would you play other games from this developer, Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you and I just saw. I think this was just announced at E3, right? They're coming out with Solar Ash, which
yeah.
looks like a combination of Hyper Light Drifter and another podcast favorite, a Journey.
Yeah.
The art style at least looks very much akin to Journey, pretty much not one for one, but it looks extremely expired by Journey, to be honest.
Yeah.
Which we like Journey a lot. It's a beautiful game, and this game looks sick, and I'm excited for it to come out when it does. Comes out
Yeah,
this year, I think.
it was previously called Solar Ash Kingdom. It was actually originally announced in 2019, but
Oh.
barely. It was like a 1 minute trailer. It didn't really show much, and it didn't even look as polished as it looks now. It's coming out on PS4 and PS5, supposedly this year. Of course, renamed to Solar Ash, and it's actually going to be published by Annapurna, Annapurna Interactive. Annapurna Interactive does some really, really great publishing. They did Outer Worlds,
Yeah,
or Outer Wilds.
Outer Wilds,
Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, great publisher, always picking some really great games and kind of getting them out there. So the game's set to release pretty soon here. It's probably going to be one of the games I play when I get a PS5, whenever that happens.
It's coming out for PS4 too.
Whenever I get a PS4.
Either or. Yeah, dude, I was looking at PS5 prices the other day, and it's like $1,000 for like any such
Really?
crap. I'm hoping the fix that soon, because there's some PS5 exclusives I would like to play.
I know, yeah, I know.
Like Returnal looks sick as hell. So
I know everyone keeps talking about that one.
yeah,
Yeah, and hey, shout out to Bubble in the chat saying it looks cool.
it does look sick, right? Yeah,
It does look really cool.
it looks
especially
it looks just like Journey, right, Bubble? Yeah, it or art style, anyways. But yeah, it looks sick as hell.
Yeah.
All right. Really quickly, nitpicks. There are a couple I do think that are worth mentioning. I'll start first, really quick. I'm not criticizing the fact that the game was told through, pictures, imagery, and music. I think that's fine. My only complaint was that because it is a pixel game, it makes it a little hard to decipher exactly what's going on in certain points. And that's not even so much of a complaint. It's just like the creative choice that didn't work for me personally. But I'm not gonna like really fault it for it. And I think that's also, I do think that's an intentional thing, that the game is supposed to be very like kind of abstract and hard to decipher. So I'm not too upset about that. What I am a little upset about was the final boss. For me, was extremely anticlimactic. It
That's
was
my nitpick.
the easiest
Really.
boss in the game by far, at least in my. Would you agree?
Actually, the frog boss was the easiest.
Frog boss was easy as hell. This was right up there with the frog boss for me, honestly. I think it only took me 2 tries to beat it, which, based off how I played the rest of this game, is pretty good. Yeah, and like just very not like. I mean, it was cool, I guess, but I don't know. I was just I was expecting a little bit more. I don't know. Maybe I've been too preconditioned by my years of replaying Kingdom Hearts every year when I growing up, where I'm expecting an 8-stage final boss battle. But
God.
yeah, I don't know. I was just expecting a little bit
I
more.
agree. Yeah, I agree. And it's kind of lame how it's the same thing that's kind of been chasing you the whole time. Like, I get like every time the Drifter kind of coughs up blood, like a vision of like death visits him. It's like a Grim Reaper type of thing, and
It's
stabs him through the heart. And that's the thing that you fight.
Yeah.
Like it's cool because it's like, I mean, it's cool and it's not cool because it like leads up to that guy and it kind of previews him a lot. So it doesn't. It kind of ruins the surprise of the final boss, which is why I thought there might be a second form to him,
yeah.
or like a final boss, and there's not. So it's kind of just like, oh, okay, time to just run away, and then there could be another version of the boss if you do all the stone tablets or do all the keys. Probably should have looked into that.
I don't think
before we
there
moved
is,
on.
from what I could tell.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I saw anything like that either.
Yeah.
Because I know that, there's certain games similar to Hyperlight, like in Hollow Knight, for instance, the final boss, the easy final boss, like one of the easier ones, is really disappointing, and then you have to kind of explore more and find more of the hidden rooms, and then you could eventually fight like the true final boss. So sometimes games do that.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my only real proper nitpick, I guess. But Lucas, does this earn your Sugoi or seal of
It
approval?
does.
Excuse
It
me.
does earn
Yeah.
my seal of approval. Does it earn the Matt Sugoi of approval?
Yeah. This game was sick, super unique, and definitely will be one that I look back on. I think it'll be one of those ones I look back on and think about a lot, like up there with the ranks of like Killer 7 or Outer Wilds for me on this podcast. Yeah.
Dope. All right, so giving our rating out of 10 and combining them, Matt on go.
Okay.
No, on after 1.
Okay.
So at the same time as go.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. 9.
8.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay. That was gonna be a little bit higher than that for you, but
I think it took a little too long for me to get into it.
Okay, that's fine.
If I felt the whole way I did that whole experience, it probably would have been a 9. But for whatever reason, it just took a little bit longer for me. But I mean, 8's still really good. The only problem is, and I'll say it every time I give a game an 8, I also gave Cyberpunk an 8. That's problematic right now.
That is problematic. I think
So I'm officially today retroactively deducting Cyberpunk to a 7.
Wow.
That is
Okay.
an exclusive bubble. Tweet that out. You let the press know.
Let him know.
Matt, good idea. Matt has retroactively amended his Cyberpunk 2077 score to 7.
Love it. Love it. All right. Well, I think that's all we got for the fans today. Matt, where can they find us online?
Everyone, as always, you can find us online at TFP Podcasts. That's TFP Podcasts with an S at the end. That is our Twitter handle as well as our Instagram handle. You can shoot us an email as well if maybe you have a suggestion for the pod, whether that's a game suggestion you'd like to see or a anything's possible suggestion. Shoot us an email. Thanks for playing pod@gmail.com. And you can find me, your good old buddy Matt. Twitter, good idea. Shit, what is my Twitter? Good idea, Matthew. And that's really the only place you need to find me. Lucas, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram and you can find me on Twitch and Discord. My Twitch and my Instagram are Good Idea Lucas. The Discord, we should probably plug that one.
Yeah, that's a good point. Everyone, I did mention as well. Twitter, Instagram, TFP Podcasts with an S at the end. If you go onto those pages and after you leave a follow, if you click the link tree, that's link with capital L, link tree, you'll find in there an option that says Discord. Should you click that option, or rather when you click that option, you will get routed to our official Thanks for playing Discord, where we chat about whatever's going on in the gaming space, in the gaming world. Most recently, our good friend and friend of the pod, Johnny Panic, my cousin, brought up a great point about how Doki Doki Literature Club is coming out on the Switch, and I think other consoles as well. I don't know what that's going to look like on consoles, because a lot of that game, honestly, even that gameplay is very much tied to it being a PC game with PC style files that you can manipulate. So I'm very interested to see how that plays out and what that'll look like. Especially on the Switch. It just doesn't feel right coming on the Switch, to be honest.
I know,
it's such
so weird.
Such a weird game. And so check out the Discord. I highly recommend you all come hang out, be a good time. And Bubble, so stoked you're going to be playing Hyperlight now. I'm glad that we convinced you. And honestly, I know you're just listening to this whole pod, and for anyone else that's listened to this whole podcast and hasn't played the game yet, honestly, it's so abstract. We really didn't even spoil anything. You'll play the game and it'll all feel like brand new. Because I mean, even as much as we tried, I really don't think we could do justice to the story and the experience of this game, because it is such a unique little thing, and unique little gem in the vast sea of games that we have available to us. So I highly recommend you check it out. Lucas, got anything else for the people?
I got nothing else.
All right, everyone. This has been Thanks for playing. Catch you next time.